name is Marco Invernizzi. I'm originally from Milan, Italy, and I've been a bonsai artist all my life because I started to do bonsai when I was 15 years old. I got interested in bonsai after watching Karate Kid 3, and back in in 1991, of course there was no internet. The only thing I could find maybe were a couple of books. I got a little bonsai. I almost killed it right away, and I felt really sorry about it. So I wanted to learn how to do it properly. So I met my Italian bonsai master, Salvatore Liporace, who I studied with him for 5 years. And as soon as I got my university degree in design, I really want to become. I decided I really want to become a bonsai master professionally, even though I already studied for other professions. And then, so I moved to Japan, and I became the first non-Japanese disciple of Kimura Masahiko, my oyakata. And then, then I came back from Japan in 2001, and since then I've been working as a full-time professional bonsai artist ever since.
So could you please explain about the Sakufu to viewers?
The Sakufu tree or Sakufu?
Sakufu itself.
Oh, itself. So, Sakufu Bonsai-ten is a very unique exhibition and bonsai competition, for the simple reason that only members of the Nihon Bonsai Kumai are admitted. So, an association that is for like many years has been gathering all the bonsai professionals in Japan. A lot of people don't really realize how big the association is. There is more than 600 members, and then but there are other 600 bonsai professionals, full-time bonsai professionals in Japan alone. So it's a really big world. And then so every year only the members of this association can display a tree at this exposition. Normally, what we do as a bonsai professional, we create the trees that then our customers, our client, bring to the show under their own name. This is our opportunity to shine and our opportunity to show our creations. And it's been carried on for the last almost 50 years. This year is the 48th edition. And so far, no others than Japanese show a tree into this and present a tree to the exhibition. But this year, because I was the first non-Japanese member of to join the association, I now became the first non-Japanese bonsai artist to show a tree at Sakufu.
And I believe that it's so difficult for ordinary people outside of Japan to understand how difficult to be a bonsai professional in Japan. Could you please explain how to be a pro bonsai artist and what apprenticeship is in Japan?
So, being a bonsai artist is difficult because it's always difficult when you want to turn something that is a hobby or a love, a passion into your work. Because when we do something because we like it, we try to consider just one side of it, when instead being a professional in that field, it means that you have to undertake a lot. So being a bonsai professional, I believe in one way extremely hard, because every time we try to turn our passion, our hobby into our profession, we are unaware that the many aspects that are needed, the many skills that are needed, the many challenges that we need to face in order to perform at a professional level. So a lot of people come to me thinking that being a bonsai master or bonsai professional, it means only to wire trees all day. When instead, if that was only part of my job, first of all, it would be a little bit boring, and second, it would be way too easy. So I believe that what is really important for a Japanese bonsai professional is to enter, first of all, into a garden when you're going to gain the skills that are very important to gain, so to be able to understand bonsai, its quality, its needs, and everything around it, the world of first of all, keeping the tree alive and creating trees. But then, in particularly when you enroll in an apprenticeship in certain gardens, you're also going to learn the business side of it. For example, the time I spend with my master, we talk about business absolutely like zero, absolutely zero. When he said, I know there are a lot of other gardens are really prone into trying to share the bonsai knowledge when it comes to business, the business bonsai knowledge more with their disciples. But I don't regret that, because I thought that I really need at that time to focus only on the skills that made me the bonsai master I am. But then, in one way, it's also easy to become a bonsai professional in Japan for the following reason. First of all, there is a lot of demand for bonsai makers. Then there is a demand for bonsai brokers, because there is still a lot of bonsai people doing it, a lot of bonsai lovers doing bonsai, even though the number has been decreasing recently quite a lot. But you could see it from the volume of the business every auction that I attend. You could still see that there's a lot of people that are doing bonsai, and also the outside market, the foreign market, is growing every year. And at the same time, it's easy because a lot of people are part of the system. So when you are in time of need, when you need help, you can definitely reach out to your brother disciple, other professionals, and this association, the Kumiai, is definitely giving a lot of support to professionals. When instead doing the same job out in Europe or in the United States, you basically are totally on your own. Often the number of customers are so limited that you find professionals trying to fight each other to gain the trust of the very few collectors, or way too many people, they call themselves master or professionals before really spending the necessary time to learn the skills first of all, and to practice. Because in every field of life, one thing you can learn the theory, but then the perfection in execution comes from a constant practice. That's why I will never regret the time that I spent when I was here in Japan, working from 8 in the morning till 11 at night for months to end. Because only when you're extremely tired and you're forced to work, you're gonna learn it to do it like if this is your second nature. So, because if you have a deadline to meet, it doesn't matter if you're tired, if you're sad, if you're happy, if you're busy, if you're heartbroken, or if you're hungry. You're gonna power through it because you learn how to do it. And at the same time, being a bonsai disciple in Japan can teach you also how to manage a bonsai garden as an entity. Doing bonsai is not just to like sit down, wire, and then move on to another tree. It means doing a lot of different things. So I remember doing a lot of electrician job, and then plumbing, and then cleaning, of course, and we went to get groceries, we fixed machines, we did all sorts of things. We built things, we destroyed things. It was every day there was a new challenge, because being a bonsai master, for me in Europe, it's not only about working on trees. I mean, I spend a lot of time just booking tickets and trying to get refunds for cancellations, or deal with people that, of course, because I am a professional, but most of my customers, some are also professional, and most of my customers are amateurs. Mm-hmm. So, one day they're happy, the next day they're extremely sad. So you have to, deal with this kind of mood waves. But it's extremely important to, like in every profession, that when someone commit to achieving the goal to become very good at something, they have to know that they're gonna fail at one point. They're gonna lose the battles. They're gonna feel extremely discouraged. They're gonna definitely ask themselves, why I'm doing this? But the advice I can give to everybody is believe in the person that made that choice in the first place, trust that he or she was right, and then like a tree will never grow perfectly. The tree will always have highs and lows because every season is different. No matter how much fertilizer, no matter how much love you can give to your tree, there's going to be that season when that bug destroy half of your tree, or maybe there is a lot of snow that drop on your tree, or when one day and you're not home, or someone forgets to water. You never know. Life is all highs and lows all the time. So it's very important, particularly when we learn about bonsai, to accept failure and embrace them as opportunity to learn. So of course I made an endless list of mistakes in my life when I was an apprenticeship and also as a professional, but always would be a pity to lose the opportunity to learn from the mistakes. And often even when we find ourselves in a time of celebration or the achievement, like this very small thing I did this year at Sakufu, it's just an opportunity to recharge our own battery, emotional battery, so to give us more power and more push to go and to aim for something even higher in the future.
Now everyone, all masters in Japan recognize you as a professional bonsai master. And how long did it take to be a member of Japan Bonsai Growers Cooperative in total?
So I started to be known as a bonsai professional from the time almost I left Japan and my apprenticeship in 2001, because as soon as I left, after 2 months I was back as a bonsai professional. People saw my face on Kinbon, and particularly people that have been visiting my master recognized my face, because at that time there were not many non-Japanese around. So that was not a problem. And of course I've been carrying on myself as a professional in Japan, visiting for many, many years. I always trying to be that bridge between Japan and Europe, or eventually between Japan and the United States. First of all, with work, second one with business, but also for example, in 2009 when I designed my own bonsai tools called Ichiban, which at this very day, after 13 years, is still the only new bonsai tools really ever created in the bonsai world. It's I didn't ask anybody else than the best Japanese bonsai tool company to produce it for me, which is Masakuni. So I always believe in the goodness of Japan as a powerhouse for bonsai and everything around it. And I always invite everybody in the West world to look at Japan, to come here to learn from the roots of bonsai, and then bring it back home whatever they feel like it, and then use that as a trampoline to be able to express themselves. So it took also point in time to gain the respect of a lot of different bonsai masters here, and the only way to do so is always keep your word, never be late in anything, and always understand that I came here. They didn't ask me to come here. So I decide every morning to come here. Every morning I was here, I was like, I want to be here. I want to be in Japan. I want to deal with this incredible master. So it's my duty to try to, to respect, follow, and be extremely precise when it comes to adapt my own being, which is very different from a traditional Japanese being, so to better be accepted. Of course, speaking the language is part of it. Unfortunately, not spending a lot of time here did never allow me to be extremely fluent, because as everything, you need to practice all the time. And then the other thing, but I think intention and respect the word that is given is the number one thing. You might not be able to say things perfectly in Japanese, But when you are on time with everything that you promise you're going to deliver, and you are constantly. Because as I often say, it's very easy to be successful when you sacrifice yourself once. Success comes when the preparation meets opportunity. So the preparation is when you really work hard to be ready to catch that moment when you can express the best of yourself. At the same time, I thought that constantly meeting everybody's expectation here in Japan in a, let's say, large scale, of course, people did also understand that I made a mistake, and when I did and they pointed out, of course, I asked for forgiveness, I realized my mistake, and I tried to move on with the best intention. And at one point, I felt it was the right moment to join the association because I proved myself to the entire community in many different ways. So I asked my master, Kimura Masahiko, Shin Suzuki, and Hisao Machi to give their word and to back me up. And then I was finally accepted. But then, even then, it wasn't, I wasn't ready enough, also because I want to make sure that I had the right tree to finally show at Sakufu. So I've been working with my clients and students in Europe and in the West for all my career, and I always felt everybody was always in rush. When instead I'm exactly the opposite. If I could have delayed my entry of 4 years and have the tree absolutely perfect as much as I really truly wanted, I would have done it. But of course, we always hope that tomorrow we're going to be better than today. So it's, but at one point I said, well, COVID is over, the pandemic is supposedly over. Finally, we are back in Japan, and it's a good time to show my tree.
Okay, how was your apprenticeship?
So my apprenticeship was the most important time of my life. I think I achieved a lot in my life as a man, as a bonsai artist, and as a bonsai professional. I have, of course, a lot of regrets, but I did extraordinary things in my life, which I'm really, really happy and proud. As much as, of course, I made a lot of mistakes, and I've been trying to fix them ever since. But there's one thing I'm extremely proud of. The most important things in my life is that I've been the 20th disciple of Kimura Masahiko, and because the time I spent in Japan marked me so deeply in such a profound and positive way that it made me who I am now. And of course, as I mentioned before, I'm always see myself as a bridge between two cultures. I am not only I'm Italian, but I'm very Italian. I also spend a lot of time in the States, and I've been traveling around the world all my life. So I like to believe that I picked a little bit here and there from all different cultures, but definitely the time that I spent in Japan was the most formative time of my life. And of course, we're talking about almost another time in history, because when I arrived in Japan for the first time, there was no internet, there was no cell phone, there was nothing. I remember the first time I arrived here, I called, I believe, my parents when I landed, and the next time they heard my voice was after a month or a month and a half.
When did you arrive?
I arrived in Japan in order to study with my master in September '97.
97.
97, yes, and that was it is a long time ago, but it feels almost yesterday. So, and of course, I came here with a dream, but not with a real expectation. But then, of course, at the beginning, what people don't understand that, like I believe every relationship between two humans, like falling in love, befriend somebody is easy, is continue to love somebody throughout years. That's the challenge. And or being a business partner with someone for many years is different. So become a disciple at the beginning, even though it was another part of the world. I was all alone in a small town in the middle of nowhere called Inamachi. It's just a name, you know, it's basically countryside town. So, you know, where back then there was absolutely nothing, and not much has changed ever since. So since that time, so I was alone. I didn't speak pretty much a word of Japanese, and my English, not that now is that great, but it definitely was very, very rudimental and very rough back then. I was just 21 years old, and I knew, you know, I knew about my life, but I didn't know about the world. But I have a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of energy, a lot of passion, and I really admire endlessly my master, because I recognize in him that he was, as much as he is now, someone who almost comes from another planet when it comes to as an artist to express himself through the medium of bonsai. And I also felt that I need a master to lead me in a personal self-development that happens when, you know, basically a kid becomes a man, you know. So let's say I met up through my college years in university, but I was a little bit surrounded by my family, and it was my comfort zone was very nice. You know, everything was quite positive. A lot of things, negative things were happening, but then I was very focused in my studies, in my hobbies, in my duties, and in my bonsai. But then when I came here, I was, instead of doing a lot of things, I did only one thing and tried to do it at my best. Now, I think it's easy to understand how the cultural clash was extremely challenging. And I will never stop thanking Oyakata for being open-minded about accepting me. And also, I'm sure that I behaved at times in ways that he might thought I was, I was totally crazy. And then maybe there was times where I behaved crazy, and then also I thought he was crazy, you know. But now, when me and him we get together, we look back, and through the highs and lows, like, you know, beautiful love stories, you appreciate the wave instead of the steady path. You know, it was a really an incredible ride. So again, at the beginning it was extremely easy because I already had some bonsai skills, and it allowed me to put them in practice right away. So within 2 months of being there, I was working trees for Taikan-ten, or, you know, I was, not because I was good, I guess, but just because it worked away, you know. So I immediately started to work a lot, and of course I was a very energetic, and like when everything is new, it's great. But of course, week after week, month after month, year after year, things go a little harder. But that was fine. Of course, what was also challenging is that, you know, I came to the garden of my master being this young kid that loved bonsai. The only thing I was thinking day and night is bonsai. I could have, pick up a picture of, a magazine, see a picture of the tree, and I remember saying, oh, well, you know, this tree was in Kokufu 64, page 275, because that's all I was thinking, you know. But of course, people, will understand that when you work with one thing only, and you are isolated for the rest of the world for months to hand, at one point you start to get tired, because, you know, I was still a young fellow, you know, and so definitely the social part of my life that turned out to be total zero, because I wouldn't meet anybody. There was no Facebook, there was no nothing. So I remember I was getting like one phone call every 2 weeks, and I was only writing written, letters to my friends. So it means like I write you a letter, I send it if I have the money to ship it, and then within maybe 2 or 3 months, someone will send it back. Which is, now we laugh about it, but it was extremely romantic, very beautiful. Some of my friends still are keeping those letters, and one day I would like to get them back and trying to discover myself back again. I remember when my first fax machine came. It was in 2000. It was not 5,000 years ago. It was in 2000. So 22 years ago. And then I could get a letter within like 1 second. Oh my God, So now when I talk with the disciple of my master now, I just want to make them understand the difference. One thing is being, now nobody's truly isolated unless there is no phone reception. Back in the days, we were really isolated. So I was reading books like, I was reading one book or the other. There was no TV, no internet, no nothing. But that really helped me to focus on the art and to really drink from my master every drop of knowledge that he was willing to share. I admit that I wasn't surrounded by people except by my master that truly seemed to love bonsai, because every other disciple, despite being great people, they were, son or other bonsai master. So I understand that it would take time for them to fall in love with bonsai. Instead of me, I was like love bonsai from the start, from the carrot kid time. So they sometimes look at me strangely while I was taking a lunch break, I was reading Bonsai magazine, when instead they were like maybe reading comics or doing that what normal kids do. For me it was, so that was difficult. Communication was difficult. There's one big mistake I made before coming to Japan is that I didn't study Japanese before. Alessandro Bonardo, for example, he is very fluent in Japanese, but he arrived in Japan speaking Japanese very fluently. And he's very smart with that. When instead, I had to compress 4 years of university in 3. And then I got my college degree and I was really busy. So, but also I love being a designer. And then when this opportunity came about of becoming a Kimura disciple, then it's like, what am I going to do? I'm going to say no to the most important person in my life, or I just I power through it. So again, a lot of nice words, a lot of kudos, a lot of acknowledgement of their incredible patience goes to Fujikawa-san, Sawada-san, and of course my master and his family for accepting a non-speaking. I remember how many times they told me, do something, and I did exactly the opposite just because I simply didn't understand. And the first time is cute. At the 5th time, they would have killed me, and they didn't kill me. So because they were very patient, and I will never thank them enough for that. So my apprenticeship was hard, but it was beautiful. I wrote about it. I felt that at one point, for example, I really didn't have much money to do anything, so I started a side business buying 100 yen shop goods and ship them to Europe and sell them for profit. And because that was the only thing I could possibly do. And then so a lot of things happened. At one point I also moved away from Inamachi, which was of course a mistake, because at one point I couldn't handle being in this small town anymore. So I moved away, and of course I got a little bit more distracted. But at the same time I also recharged my inner battery, because as an artist I am not the kind of person that only can do one thing. I need to, in order to be happy, I need to challenge myself in different things. So I start to be a little bit more social. And then at one point I admit certainly that was a mistake, because it distracted me a little bit from the bonsai. But that kept me going for 1.5 years more. When at one point, as I mentioned before, I asked myself why I'm doing this, because nothing around me, you have very dark days, But if, for example, I remember one morning it was snowing so bad that basically there was no way for me to arrive at work. I remember probably half a meter of snow the following one night. And then when I arrived late, my master was extremely upset with me, rightfully so, because I didn't show up in time to help everybody, because I didn't live close by. And that when I finally realized that I made a mistake, because I couldn't be always there to help them. That was my duty, But as young kids, as young people, we make stupid mistakes, and I will never hide from them. That was definitely a stupid mistake. So again, I follow the rules, but at a certain time I adapt the rules to my being. I regret that at times, for sure, but other ways, that's where I instantly follow my own being. So my career has never been a straight line. I've been doing many things in my life as first the light went off, and then so it was an open land with no points of reference, which is now is different. Now everybody can go online and try to see how things have been done before, I don't want to justify my mistakes by that, but the only thing I can say that my master always had the best intention in art. His method is not unfamiliar with the Japanese traditional teaching method at all. He actually was way more modern than a lot of art forms, because still to this very day, foreigners are not accepted in many fields. So back in 1997, he's accepted this young, non-Japanese speaking Italian kid who beat him at karaoke a couple of times, I have to say, because I was very good at singing at that time, and but also made so many crazy mistakes. So the fact that he always thought there was something good in me and always trying to get the best out of it, it was absolutely something that I will never forget. And then and love for the art and truly love for the person always was at the base of his relationship with his disciple. Definitely there were times, particularly recently, when I noticed that he might have, at one point give up on certain things, give up on a person, give up on trying to communicate certain things, because of course his inner energy getting older, and it's comprehensible. I mean, it's just, it's a natural thing, But with me, I know he never gave up. The person who gave up on me and my dream, it was myself, But because love is walking on a very strange path. So even though at one point my love for my master came to a stop, not the love for him, but the love for our relationship at one spot and at one time, then I always carry with me. So even though there were years where we weren't talking, every time I sat in front of a tree, I always felt his presence, and I always felt that he was right next to me. So I would almost like I was still in his workshop. So I would have to do a work good enough for him to look at it and say, okay, continue. Okay, and it's not like, oh, you're so good, oh, Marco, I've never seen such a good work. Sometimes it was just, and that was enough. Because if there's something wrong, you can be sure he would have been very loud about it, but I wouldn't have won it in any other way. But then at one point, life brings you back to where you started. So many years ago, we got reconnected after I also was able to prove that by working by myself for many years, I proved myself as a bonsai artist worth of respect throughout the world. And he appreciated that, he knew about that, and then it came to him. I bowed my head. In a very long letter and in many different ways, I say I'm sorry, and then and since then, like a good father, he opened his arm again. He was like, "You're still welcome here. We were always welcome." And then I started to go back to work with him for 1 month out of a year, almost ever since, you know, except for the COVID time and everything. So, and I remember being some of the happiest time of my life, where I was a better man, not only a kid, and I enjoyed being a disciple way more than back then. I could call my parents or whoever I want to call a little bit more frequently without being bankrupt. That was sometimes really helps. And then it's just that when you do things because you love them, you truly, truly love them, that's the best thing in life. And so I will definitely would like to say to everybody who might have a misconception about the reality of a bonsai apprenticeship in Japan is that they think it's hard. They have no idea how hard it is. They think that it's complicated. They have no idea how complicated it is and how complicated it was. Okay, it's definitely like climbing Mount Fuji. When we look at Mount Fuji from the far, oh, it looks so pretty. When we get close, oh, it's so beautiful. When we start walking, oh yeah, I can do it. But when you are at 4 in the morning, when it's freezing cold, like 100 meters from the top, that's when it gets really hard. Because Mount Fuji is very smooth at the beginning, and again, it's really, really hard. So there are times when we get broken by our path to achieve greatness in our life, and we might slide back, but somehow we also want to reach the top. And your way and my way might be different. I'm not here to judge your way, and no, it's not even fun to judge my way. But everybody's experience is really, really, really been very tough as an apprenticeship in Japan. And if it was too easy, I don't think that the outcome has produced a very valid multitasking bonsai professional. And then my master is a complicated human being, but do you expect an easy human being to be the greatest bonsai artist of all time? It doesn't match. You know, back in the days, people didn't have a chance to meet or interview the greatest artist because there was no recording devices, you know. Even if you read some of the biography of Picasso, for example, trust me, it was not an easy person. But do we want easy person to create incredible art? It's quite unlikely that to happen. And let's keep in mind that within the bonsai world, even though my master's been truly appreciated almost from the beginning, he found lots of people that never really admit how great he was, never really accept his way of doing things. But let me give you an example. In '94, he started to create his new rock planting. In '94, not last year, '94. Until the, just let's say less than 10 years ago, the foreign client started to appreciate his rock planting so much to push him to produce him even more. Even in Japan, people still didn't accept it. So there was a 20 years gap when he created incredible masterpiece that either nobody wanted, or if they wanted, they were just a very small niche of his hardcore fan base, but still not the large amount of bonsai professionals really understand and appreciate it. So you think about it, you are the greatest, you do amazing work, and the people around you that don't care about it, and it takes 20 years and maybe voices from other countries, it's hard. So I believe that my master has been it would be unrealistic to believe that even when you love somebody, you think they're perfect. We are not perfect. We know that. Why expect the other people to be perfect? If we idolize, you want to close that door?
I want to ask you about your dream.
In my dream?
Yes.
All right. So I consider myself a very lucky person because in the last 47 years of my life, I've really been able to experience a lot of joy, challenge myself in many different fields, and always coming out of it feeling extremely fulfilled. Again, I'm not just a bonsai artist. I've been challenging myself with many things when it comes to travel, with sport and business and the relationship. Definitely, I came a time in my life where most of the people I know have family and kids, and maybe they live a more stable life. Okay, I would not consider that. I would not like to analyze that because it's part of my private life. But as a human being, and particularly as a bonsai artist, what I'm trying to do now is to really invest my time and my skills in projects that are very close to my heart and with people that are very like-minded. So I'm not ashamed to say that even in the last few years, I have to select a number of people I've been working with, because at one point I find out there's certain people were not really going side by side with my vision. And I think after many, many years of me trying to adapt myself to other people, I tried to put my own dream and my own vision in front of everything else, also because I had plenty of opportunity to explain what was my vision to a lot of the people I work with. So I'm trying to work less and work better. At the same time, I'm trying to develop bonsai also in countries like Singapore and Thailand and many other places where bonsai hasn't developed as much before. And I've been create partnership with people that are very open-minded about merging different medium and different art forms, like gastronomy, for example, with bonsai. And at the same time, I would like to introduce to more of my art and more of my creations here in Japan. So the idea is not only is to be able to entry one new creation from me every year in Sakufu for the years to come, and also being more involved with the life and the duties of a member of the Kumiai. And at the same time, it would be really cool really to get more of the general public involved in bonsai. I can see how in this Sakufu event we really, the Kumiai really put together a really nice bonsai exhibition, but we still lack the critical mass of the general public to be able to appreciate. So to make sure that in the future, when some kid magically watch Karate Kid or fall in love with bonsai online on Facebook, God knows how, they will be supported by a system that allow them to follow their dream. Because when I was a kid with my own dream, I pretty much had to do everything by myself, except of course receiving the help of my Italian bonsai master, but then and then Oyakata. But we really need to try to build that kind of structure. So even though recently I heard of people trying to break it down, the kind of image of how important and beautiful and deep in meaning is the Japanese bonsai apprenticeship, and they unfortunately trying to make it look like a process that got people to come out of it not as a very sane people, or not be very all around functional human being, but I can definitely say that, you know, every apprenticeship in every field, can be military, can be in industry, can be in become a doctor, can be bonsai master, is extremely hard. And in order to reach the top of Mount Fuji, we're definitely gonna go through very hard times. And these are the times that really make us who we are. So I know it sounds like a little, a phrase, a motto that you can put on a t-shirt, but it's really, really true. And I can definitely tell you now that I'm, got to be 47. So, well, definitely my dream would be to trying to create that structure that allows young kid like I was to become not me, but a much better bonsai artist.